Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm taking a look at Moon Leap by Rudy Hoffmann, published by Playte. This is a roll and move strategy game for 2 to 4 players, which plays in about 20 minutes for ages 8 and up. And before I start explaining how to play the game and to share my thoughts on it, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. That really helps the channel. And if you'd like to support what I do, you can do so starting from €1 per month on my Patreon page. The link is in the description below. And patrons of my channel get early access to all of my videos, access to Patreon exclusive content, their name in the credits, and you also save up for the exclusive Board Game Heaven enamel pin. And with that out of the way, let's explain the rules. To set up a game of Moon Leap, you take the box and you open it like so, and you fold it out, and it becomes the board. Every player picks a color and takes their 5 corresponding astronaut meeples, and you keep the die in the center of the table. Starting with the youngest player, that player takes the die and gives it a roll, and they may then place the meeple with the corresponding number on the first free space in these red craters on the board. So let's say the first player here takes their number 4 and puts it over here. The second player rolls the die, rolls a number 2, and then places it on the first available spot, which is this one over here. Player 3 rolls the dice, that's astronaut number 4. And player 4 rolls the dice, and that's astronaut number 5. And on any consecutive turns, should you roll a number that's already on the board, then that player gets to move that astronaut to the next available spot, which means if those spots are taken, then astronaut number 4 here will jump over these astronauts onto the next available spot. Should you roll an asterisk, you can choose which astronaut to move or place on the board. These symbols on the board are barriers, and you will have a barrier on the board depending on the number of players. So in a 2-player game, the barrier is here. In a 3-player game, it's here. And a 4-player game, it's there. Now, as soon as one of the meeple tokens moves beyond the barrier, depending again on the number of players, then players may choose to split up their rolled value over 2 different astronauts. So for example, if I roll a 5, I can either move astronaut number 5, which could be beneficial, or I could split it up between 4 and 1, or 2 and 3. If I roll a 4, I can either move astronaut 4 or astronauts 1 and 3 in the order that I choose. And if I roll a 3, then I can either move astronaut 3 or astronauts 1 and 2. And if I roll a 1, a 2, or a star, I cannot split up the value. And you can only split up your die result if you are able to move both tokens. So if the orange player was up here and we've passed the barrier and I roll the 3, then I could either move the 3 all the way over there, or I could place my 2 meeple all the way over here and then move the 1. Because if I had moved the 1 here first, then my number 2 would land here. Now, if on my turn I manage to get 3 of my own meeples in a row, so for example, I rolled a 4 or the asterisk, and I move this astronaut here, I got 3 of my astronauts in a row. And that means I can take an extra turn. So I immediately roll the die again, I roll another asterisk. So I could, in this case, either put my remaining astronaut on the board or move the 2, leapfrog over these 2, and once again at the end of my turn I have 3 astronauts in a row, so I can roll again. Now I have the 2, which I can't split up, so I have to move my 2 astronaut 1 spot ahead. Now at the very end of the game, all of these spaces will probably be occupied, and it could happen that a player rolls something and they can't move. If that is the case, then their turn simply ends and it's the next player's turn. Now, as soon as the last 3 spots on the board are occupied, so let's say the white player rolls this asterisk and they're gonna move this meeple all the way across over here, and these 3 spots are taken and the game ends immediately. Now it's turn to calculate your scores. And all of your astronauts will score points depending on the spaces they are on. You simply multiply the number on their backpack with the number of the crater they're on. So if you still have any astronauts in the starting red spots, then you have negative points. Should you have any astronauts not yet on the board, those are -5 points each. Spaces without a point are 0 points, so you don't score for those. So, for example, let's check the blue player's score. They have a meeple here on the 25 times 3, that's 75. They have a 1 here on the 13, that's 88. The 5 here is 0 points. The 2 here is 10 points times 2, that's 20, totaling 108. And the 4 here is 0 points. So that's 108 points for the blue player. And of course, the player with the highest score wins the game. Moonleap comes with a mini expansion called the Dark Astronauts expansion. And in a 4-player game, you use all 3 Dark Astronauts. In a 3-player game, you don't use these, but you just pick this color for the Dark Astronauts and you give these 3 colors to the other players, and you use 4 gray astronauts and you can ignore the numbers. And in a 2-player game, you use all 5 gray astronauts. At the start of the game, you randomly place the neutral or the dark astronauts somewhere between the start and the 4-player barrier. So for example, I might place one here, and one here. And then once a player barrier has been activated, depending on the number of players again, then players may move the neutral astronauts on the board after rolling their die. And you move them instead of your own astronauts. And the difference is that you can move these dark astronauts forward or backward. If you move your own astronaut and at the end of your turn you get 3 in a row and you get to roll again, then after that roll you can also use one of the dark astronauts. Neutral astronauts cannot be on the last 3 spots on the grid, and the rest of the rules is exactly the same as the normal game. So you can use these to block other players or to create gaps so they can jump over large number of astronauts. And those are all the rules for playing Moonleap. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Moonleap by Playte, who were kind enough to provide a copy for me to review. Let's start with the components. I love that this game board is the box. This is the box, and you fold it out and it has magnetic flaps here, so when you close it, it's closed magnetically and you keep all the components inside the box, and then you fold it out and it's the board. That is so clever, and Playte have a number of games that do the same thing, and I think that's really cool. The meeples are wooden and colorful, and I like them as well. They're little astronauts with a number on their backpack, and that just works very well thematically. It looks really cool. And, well, the illustrations are also really good. You get the inside of the board, of course, which is the moon surface, which all these craters on it, which are the spots that you can walk on. That works very well, and the numbers are clear on it, and this components and illustrations are really nice. There's not a lot of illustrations outside of the board and the cover art, but it does look really nice. Thematically, it's also really fun. You're these astronauts jumping on the moon over each other because there's low gravity and you're constantly leapfrogging, which kind of works. And then at the end, you need to go to the rocket and take off, and the people who get into the rocket first have the most points, and then you can score some more points for being in certain of these craters which have numbers on them. It's all very clever. Gameplay is good fun. It's super light, of course. It's basically a roll and move. It's also very lovely die, by the way, which is kind of marbled orange with white faces. It rolls nice, rounded edges, so it rolls nice. And you just roll and you move that piece. It starts out super simple and you're thinking, well, this isn't very challenging. This feels like a kid's game. But once you pass that barrier, depending on the number of players, you get the added choice of using the 3, 4, or 5 for 2 of your astronauts instead of just 1. And you need to carefully think about which one am I going to place. Am I going to move 1 or 2 if I roll the higher numbers? And where am I going to place them? Am I going to move this one first or that one first? You're trying to manipulate it a bit so that you can get not only the furthest, but you're also trying to get 3 in a row. Because if you can get far, but the other option is getting not so far, but getting 3 in a row, that means an extra turn. And that is far better. So you're trying to do that. You know, you could have like a character all the way over here and you roll like, I don't know, a roll that lets you move this meeple over all of these astronauts to the next spot. That's good. But you could also move this one here and then have 3 in a row and roll again. And when you're playing with 2 players, you're just kind of trying to get ahead, you know, and trying to leave the other one behind, the other player behind, not give them any opportunities to jump over your meeples. So you're trying to make that gap bigger if you can, or just, you know, you have to play it strategically so they don't benefit from jumping over you. In a 3-player game, there's more meeples on the board, so there's gonna be a lot of jumping, and still you're trying to create gaps for the other players. You're trying to make that snake of astronauts cut up into pieces and have yours in the front. And of course, in a 4-player game, the board is almost full, it's chaos, and people are jumping over each other in insane distances. So, you know, that's also something to take into account. You want to make gaps and you want to try and end, of course, on the final 3 spots, but also with your highest value astronaut. Because the higher the value, the more multiplication you get of those points. So if you got your 5 on the 30, that's a lot of points. It's 150 points. Whereas if you get the 1 there, that's just 30 points. So you need to take that into account as well, and then try to space out your astronauts so they end up on higher value craters if you can't make it to those 3, or maybe, you know, there's only 3 spots. So you might have 1, possibly 2 in there, but try to get your other ones on higher value craters. So there's a bit more going on than just rolling and moving, even though you do need some luck and there is not always a whole lot of choices. But it's super light, but it is fun. It's quite a fun filler game, I think. Quick roll and move and you know, trying to get ahead as far as you can. Replayability is pretty good. It's a pretty fast game, so, you know, a game will be over relatively quickly, like 15 minutes maybe, so you might want to play again. It's a good for a, you know, quick in-between filler game, but also to play a couple of games in succession. I think that it is particularly fun with a younger audience, but we did enjoy it with an adult audience as well. In the end, the replayability is as good as you like the game. If you enjoy the game, you play it lots. If you don't, you're done after 1 game. That's fine too. It's very random, so it's gonna be a different game every time you play. Finally, there's the language dependency. Other than the rules, there's no language here. You just have the board, the spaces, the numbers, and the die, so anyone can play this, and well, that's fantastic as well. I enjoy games that are language independent, because you can play it with any age, with any nationality, so that's definitely a thumbs up for me. In the end, a pretty enjoyable, light roll and move, some luck, some strategy in this game. I enjoyed it, the people I played with enjoyed it as well, so I am giving it a thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please also give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps the channel. And if you'd like to support what I do, please check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.